Next, we're so excited this year to bring some of our inside members' voices to the virtual State House. So the first of three members who will speak about conditions of confinement and a bill they co-authored will be Sugani. Pre-recorded remarks, especially those through a prison phone, can be choppy. So for the next 10 minutes or so, I really want the audience to listen into these remarks, lean in, and maybe turn your volume up. And there will also be captions at the bottom if easier. So to intro Sugani, his work focuses on the ways in which the carceral state is both a failure and targets LGBTQ people, especially trans women. He often writes about the ways the Prison Rape Elimination Act causes harm to the incarcerated community and other manifestations of anti-queerness and anti-Blackness within the system. Most recently, he helped author the Rights Act. He was recently featured in Carceral Con, The Deceptive Terrain of Criminal Justice Reform by Kay Whitlock, and he's currently serving a life sentence at MCI Norfolk. So now we will hear some pre-recorded remarks from Sugani.
Good afternoon. My name is Sugani. I am currently incarcerated at MCI Norfolk, a Massachusetts state prison. I am a Black bisexual man. As well, I am the founder and current coordinator of United Brigade Bisexual Transgender Progress, UGP for short. UGP is a self-improvement and support group for LGBT plus prisoners. Last year, in 2020, I wrote a report entitled A Report of Dehumanization, Criminalization, and Hostility Towards LGBT plus Prisoners. Our purpose of writing this report was to call attention to systemic homophobic and transphobic policies that gave prison officials and prison guards impunity to attack queer expression. In this bill, the Rights Act, Senate number 1566 and House number 2484, we have some courageous and praiseworthy lawmakers who seeks to break up these systemic homophobic and transphobic policies that I outlined in detail within my report. In this bill, you will read a portion that explains that no incarcerated person who engages in consensual sex with another prisoner will be placed in solitary confinement nor in any sort of restrictive housing. As well, you will read that public displays of affection, handshakes, hugs, touching of another's hair, and other forms of non-sexual contact amongst prisoners shall not be subject to disciplinary action. Upon reading this portion of the bill, one may conclude that our ambition is to permit prisoners to have sex and to allow incarcerated lovers to walk in the yards like it's a beach holding hands. Absolutely not. Our ambition is to decriminalize queer expressions, to take away policies that are used as a shield to harass, target, and mistreat LGBT plus prisoners. Being a bisexual man, an activist, and being fairly knowledgeable of queer history, I am well informed about the criminalization of gay and trans expression. The times when it was illegal for men or queens to wear women's clothing. The times when same-sex intimacy and gender identity was criminalized and subject to penalty. The times when just being queer was a crime, with the penalty being assault, jail, or death. When we reversed these laws, we took away the tools that were used to violate us and criminalize us. We, the brave queers in prison, are enduring some of the last policies that are criminalizing queer expression. So let us all tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a group to support the Rights Act, so that we can get rid of another group of homophobic and transphobic policies. Let us not wait until tomorrow. Let's get it done today. In conclusion, I want to thank my honorable family at Black and Pink, Massachusetts, Senator Julian Sear, and Representative Jack Patrick Lewis, and also tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a group to support Black and Pink, our Senator Sear and our Representative Lewis. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm so glad that we were able to include his voice and two others that we'll hear. I think similarly, what struck me about Sugani's speech was just how he focused on the historical roots of victimization of LGBTQ folks in prison and how that relates into what folks are still experiencing in prison. The report that Sugani mentioned, we received a comment. We'll share that in the follow-up email that I mentioned. So next, we'll hear from Richard. He's a jailhouse lawyer and often helps his peers file lawsuits to protect their civil rights. He's been a tireless advocate with the Special Commission on Health and Safety of LGBTQI+ prisoners, exposing terrible conditions at MCI Shirley, and helped author the Rights Act. He's currently serving a life sentence at MCI Shirley. I also wanted to mention that you'll notice a couple of offensive terms have been edited in the subtitles. I just want to offer a content warning for that language and use this as a reminder for everyone about how isolated prisons are, as well as how particularly isolating they are inside for LGBTQ people. So with that in mind, I'm excited for you to hear now from Richard.
I'm grateful for this opportunity to tell you about the way LGBTQ inmates are treated by prison administrators, guards, and other inmates, because despite the Department of Corrections' claim of zero tolerance, we are verbally abused, harassed, and put in dangerous situations on a regular basis. While there are many areas that need to be addressed in order to protect LGBTQ inmates, the biggest fear we face on a daily basis is housing, because for most of us, this is where our problems begin. Though there are internal policies for assigning compatible inmates to double cells, this criteria is rarely, if ever, applied to LGBTQ inmates, and we are routinely given cellmates who nobody else will live with, or who are gang members, homophobic, or predators. And if we complain, we're given the choice of refusing housing and being placed in solitary confinement, or fighting the cellmate and being placed in solitary confinement. In short, a no-win situation. Even when inmates come right out and tell guards they won't live with a, quote, fag, the standard reply is, do what you gotta do. Worst of all, this is such a common practice that it has morphed into an actual culture within the prison system. I'm currently housed at MCI Shirley, a medium security facility with a population of over 1,000 inmates, most of whom are young gang members. Of these 1,000 plus inmates, 4 of us are openly gay. Since by gang rules, members aren't allowed to live with someone who is gay, the chance of safe housing for any LGBTQ inmate at this facility is extremely low. In the 2.5 years I've been at Shirley, I've been threatened by cellmates not to even look at them, assigned gang members and predators as cellmates, and even told that the administration viewed it as suspicious when I asked to be housed with an LGBTQ inmate I've known for many years, though they find nothing suspicious about gang members living together. During my first year at this prison, a gay man committed suicide because he couldn't take the harassment and abuse anymore. A crippled bisexual inmate was severely gay bashed while 3 guards looked on. And an openly gay inmate was sexually assaulted, even though the administration had been warned of the threat his attacker posed to him. A more recent incident that illustrates how poorly LGBTQ inmates are treated occurred when 2 gang members forced a handicapped, non-binary inmate to refuse housing. After witnessing the events unfold, my friend and I were on the phone with Michael Cox, the executive director of Black and Pink and a member of the LGBTQ Commission. We began to relate the story of what had just taken place, but less than a minute into our conversation, one of the same gang members walked over to us and said, "This is a gang phone. Fags can't use it," and we were forced to hang up or get beaten up. As punishment for their hate crimes, the 2 gang members were transferred to the best medium security facility in the state, while we were left to deal with being labeled as rats in a gang-dominated prison. And yet, the DOC finds nothing wrong with this. Worse still, the DOC refuses to let any of us transfer to a more docile facility, because to do so would be to admit that zero tolerance is nothing but an illusion. It's for these reasons that the Rights Act is so crucial to the rehabilitation, health, and safety of LGBTQ inmates. I therefore urge every legislator to please vote to pass the Rights Act in order to finally give us the protection that every human being deserves. Thank you.
And thank you to Richard for sending in those comments and powerful words. I think what struck me most was his insight about how many LGBTQ prisoners' problems start with housing and how important that is, how that highlights the importance of people who are most impacted by policy having their voice reflected in the process, because they know best what the problems are and what they need. And so I'm really glad that we got to hear from Richard on that aspect of the bill. And finally, on healthcare protections, we're going to hear from Randy, who is a long-term AIDS survivor and tireless advocate with the Special Commission on Health and Safety of LGBTQI+ prisoners, exposing the terrible conditions at MCI Shirley, and he also helped author the Rights Act. Randy also has artistic talents, and he often sends handmade cards to free-rolled members of Black and Pink, and he's scheduled to be released in 2023. So now we'll hear from Randy.
Thank you for giving me the chance to explain what I've gone through in the DOC because of being openly gay. I've had AIDS for 35 years, and over this time, I've become resistant to medication after medication until I'm now left with a limited number of options to fight the virus. Despite all my pleas for medication to be given properly, the DOC and its medical providers have fought me tooth and nail. Nowhere has this been more pronounced than at MCI Shirley, where DOC policies prevent me from receiving medication properly, which has caused my viral load to become detectable several times over the last couple of years. In the last 2 years I've been here, I've run out of my HIV medication numerous times because the nursing staff simply failed to reorder it. My medication's been crushed to powder, despite large warnings on the label that we do not crush. And even though the manufacturer states doses must be taken at the same time each day, while the virus may become untreatable, I've been given my medication anytime from 7 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., and they refuse to solve this problem. The reason for all these issues is that HIV medications have been removed from what is called the KOP, Keep on Persons medication list, simply just to save money. When I asked the HIV doctor about this, he told me, I want to save lives, while the DOC just wants to save money. On top of this, the DOC and WellPath intentionally neglect my AIDS-related medical issues due to cost. I've been assigned a nurse practitioner who admits she doesn't understand basic HIV issues, and yet the administration refuses to give me someone who is qualified to deal with my health issues. Since the HIV doctor only deals with viral loads, for all my other issues, I'm left with a person that's not qualified to provide adequate health care for someone with AIDS. In addition, although I suffer from long-term effects from AIDS, the DOC refuses to grant me even the smallest accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And at any moment, I can be moved to a cell with a homophobic inmate who won't live with the fag with AIDS. Well, I could go on and on about the abuses we all suffer in the name of security. I really just want to express the urgent need to pass this Rights Act, because this is the only way LGBTQ inmates will ever receive the health care and safety that we're entitled to and deserve. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. And thanks for the pleas. And please vote for the Rights Act. Thank you.
And thanks to Randy for sharing his comments. I think just want to take a moment to reflect on the stakes for him and many of our other members around these issues, and the urgency in his voice